Hello again, and welcome back to this playthrough and commentary of Star Wars Dark Forces. This is Mission 2, Talay TAC Base, after the Massacre. As seen in the last cutscene, TAC Base was devastated by the Dark Trooper attack, so it's going to be our job to go in and find any clues about these Dark Troopers. Of course, nothing's that simple, as we also had to turn the power back on. So, let's get to it. In this mission, I'm going to demonstrate some stealth elements and mechanics that might not be apparent in regular playthroughs. Last time I stated that crouching wasn't very useful in dodging enemy fire. It is, however, very useful in sneaking up on enemies that haven't been alerted to your presence. From what I've experienced, crouching cuts down on enemy detection of your presence in about half, specifically those that have line of sight to you. However, gunfire and explosion sounds will still alert enemies regularly. Here I'll show how global lighting factors into stealth as well. Crouching in a dark place makes me invisible to these enemies, and the IR goggles don't affect this. Turn on a light source like the headlamp, however, and they'll become alert. Enemies in this game are alerted by three things: your detectable presence, sounds they can hear caused by you, and being hit with gunfire or explosions. With these factors in mind, you can cut down on immediate enemy alertness by standing in dark areas, crouching to mask or delay your detectable presence, using distance to enemies against them, and only making sound when you're ready to come out blasting. However, as you'll see later in this mission, some enemies are spawned and triggered by the game to already be alert. Stepping aside for a moment of trivia, Dark Forces has another connection to Rebel Assault 2, in addition to the acting talent of Julia Eccles, who voices Jan Ors in this game. The graphic of the player holding the Imperial Blaster, seen here, is used in Rebel Assault 2 during an on-rail FPS action sequence during which Rookie 1 infiltrates the stealth fighter factory. Jumping back to the subject of stealth, crouching below the lip of the battlement here means I can take out these stormtroopers without alerting the ones below. I'm also going to demonstrate another stealth tactic you can use to conserve ammo and feel a little sneaky. As noted before, sound will alert enemies, but fists make no sound. This room is completely dark, coupled with me crouching and making no sound, means these stormtroopers never saw me coming. Let's take a minute for some run and gun gameplay, because that's more fun than watching me play sniper along the spout. More often than not, you're going to find yourself in a frantic gunfight like this, though mostly in smaller confined spaces. When this happens, it's best to dart for the largest space without enemies in it, keep all enemies in front of you, and strafe around with a few bobs and weaves in order to get a beat on whatever you're shooting at that second. Very quickly, here's an example of destructible objects in Dark Forces. Aside from the on-off model skins of damage, these objects also best reflect the sprite scaling system seen in-game. The way the enemy AI works in this game is a reflection of the time period it was made in. The AI is instructed by the game to approach you and fire. However, the nature of the complex map architecture in this game means that the AI will often be confused by narrow and curving hallways and map objects that don't block line of sight but movement, such as desks, windows, half walls, and special collidable objects such as light pillars. There are three modes in which the AI operates: sleep, patrol, and engage. Sleep is simply an inactive enemy entity, standing still and waiting to be triggered. Patrol is where the enemy entity moves around the map aimlessly, but not aware of the player's presence. Finally, the engage is where the enemy entity has been alerted to the player's presence, and will shoot it if it can draw a straight line from its collision box to the player's collision box. As I only briefly did it last mission, let's talk about the enemies we've encountered so far. The enemy we'll see the most often is the iconic Stormtrooper. It has a health of 20, meaning 2 close range or 3 long range blaster weapon bolts will kill it. Close range is about 25 feet, and beyond that, blaster bolt damage begins to drop, as you probably noticed when you've seen me snipe with the pistol. A step up from the Stormtrooper is the Commando in the black armor, who has 30 health and a smaller cone of fire than its white-suited counterpart, meaning it will also hit you more often up close. Finally, we have the Officer with a measly 10 health, but also has the same cone of fire as the Commando. And then we also have the Mousebot, which we like to punch. I'll also take this moment to talk about the weapons we've been using so far. Here, the Stormtrooper Blaster Rifle, which you'll see me use a lot. Known to Star Wars fans as the E11 Blaster Rifle, it was modeled off the British-made Sterling L2A3 submachine gun, and it's the most recognizable Star Wars personal weapon next to the Wookiee Bowcaster and Han Solo's DL-44. In Dark Forces, the blaster rifle has a refire rate of 420 rounds a minute when the game is running at a flat 30 frames a second. With a weapon supercharger, it can spit out up to 14 rounds a second. Hope you're starting to see why I like this weapon so much. However, the drawbacks to this weapon are two major ones. Firstly, it is the most inaccurate weapon of the game with the largest fire spread, and shots fired at a target at medium and long ranges will about half the time or more miss. Secondly, this weapon is the second hungriest in the game, needing 2 units of blaster ammo per shot. If the amount of ammo for this weapon wasn't so plentiful in this game, it would be a hard weapon to love. Thankfully, that's not the case. After a long walk through the dark, powerless city, we finally reach our first objective, the hydroelectric power generator. Picking off these 2 guards, we're free to switch on the power and witness the Jedi engine's 3D object movement capabilities. Back here, we'll pick up another pair of IR goggles, in case we didn't enter the secret bunker in the first mission. Trekking back across, and heading for the window we came out of, we'll find our first secret of the map, given away by this slightly misaligned wall texture. Because the power is back on, and everything is lit up like a shopping mall, our stealth capabilities are more limited. As you'll see during my playthrough, I'm going to try to be a bit more run and gun in the open, and a little sneaky in dark areas. That's not to say I'm going to blindly run everywhere and come out limping but triumphant, but I'll demonstrate that you can play this game somewhat like Doom and not use cover so reliantly. There are other excellent playthroughs of Dark Forces that advise caution while traversing through the game, which I'll link in the information tab to the right. Personally, I'm looking forward to SK's continued hilarious run through the game, plus it doesn't have a fraction of the boring trivia and commentary my series has. To borrow an old LucasArts term, I'm doing the fist path as opposed to the wits path. Here we'll run across the bridge and hit the switch, and I'll see you in part 2 of this mission.